Welcome to Key Biscayne Stories, where neighbors meet neighbors. Today we're going to get to know Michael Bracken. He's running for village council, one of our neighbors. He's been living in the Key for 30 years with his family, and this is a great opportunity to get to know all the candidates. So thank you for running for council. I know it's challenging. If elected or when elected, it's going to take a lot of time, and there's going to be a lot of new things. So thank you for jumping on the challenge.
Absolutely.
So we have a couple of questions that we're going to ask everybody. And we're just going to dive right in.
Go for it.
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Okay, so I've been working in the oil field for almost 15 years for a company called Schlumberger. And then I transitioned back to the United States and went to work for a construction engineering firm. And I had an older gentleman who told me that God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should talk half as much as you listen. And I found this to be very good advice, because most of the time in a meeting, the customer will tell you what they want to buy or what they need. Okay, so I've just found that this has been pretty good advice. So I try to listen as much as I possibly can in a conversation, because I think people are going to tell you what you need to know most of the time. And I found this to be pretty good advice.
You said oil, in the oil field, right?
Yeah, so there's a company called Schlumberger or Schlumberger. It's the largest petroleum engineering firm in the world. They've kept themselves on the political radar screen very effectively. Everybody knows about Halliburton Industries because of the previous president. Dick Cheney was the president of Halliburton Industries, which is a big oil field service contractor primarily based in pumping concrete. Okay. So Schlumberger is basically the general contractor of the oil field. So when they're trying to find, so if Shell or Exxon is looking for a particular area to do exploration, they'll actually hire Schlumberger to do a gross survey to determine, okay, is there oil in this particular sector? They'll bring it down to a micro scale. Then they'll bring in a drilling rig. Then they'll bring in the whole entire team to evaluate that oil well. And that's basically what I used to do. So I used to run 10 of those drilling operations. And we moved from Bombay, India, where our daughter was basically born. Well, she wasn't born. She was born in Munich. And then we moved there when she was 3. And then we left India when she was basically 3.5. Wow. So we lived there for on and off for about three years.
And these are land-based oil rigs?
Those were actually offshore oil-based rigs, yeah.
Like those massive ones?
Massive ones, big ones, yeah.
Like
They're basically football field by football field, yeah. Huge.
So you've been on those, of course.
Many times. I've been in more helicopters than you would ever want to be in.
That's pretty cool. There's a show, I think called The Rig or something. It's pretty good. Oh, yeah. Anyways, awesome. Let's continue. Tell us something about yourself that most people don't know. Even though that's pretty cool working on oil rigs.
Well, I think the other thing most people don't realize is I'm extremely dyslexic. Okay, and dyslexia has been a big challenge in my life. I don't read and write particularly well, so most of the time, if you see something that's been written, it's most likely been ghostwritten by somebody else for me or on my behalf. Obviously, it's my my thought process, but I definitely get a lot of help when I'm reading and writing. Not so much, writing for sure. Yeah, I find it to be extremely challenging. So, I write something, I have to set it down, come back to it for, a day later, because I'll literally read the mistakes into the writing, which, I think this is an educational institution. You guys are probably dealing with this on a fairly regular basis. But dyslexic kids have a pretty interesting situation. They get a work ethic that most people don't really understand, because it's just a constant battle every day to deal with this issue, and especially pre ability to basically dictate. So when I started doing this as a kid, I'm 66. Fortunately, my parents had the financial wherewithal to get me high quality tutoring. But it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle my whole entire life. So, I used to yell down the hallway in work, how do you spell XYZ? And, to the point where people it's sometimes it's enough of a struggle that I actually can't even get the word spell check to pop up. But now with the digital situation where you can speak into devices, things have gotten a little easier. But still, it's tough.
Well, so, after I found out I'm dyslexic as well, I found that later in life. So my wife does, she does therapy for kids with dyslexia early as well. So we started dating. He's like, I think you're dyslexic. I'm like, no. But yeah, no, we tested. And yeah, but actually very dyslexic as well. So I feel you.
And what because it's this is a very big catch-all word, right? So so do you get affected in math, or do you get affected in reading and writing?
Reading and writing.
Okay. Yeah. So I was one of those kids that did the SAT scores now. I don't know if they just I think it's a three. They do the three counts. Well, when I was doing it, was two counts. So it was eight. I was basically 1,600. So I was one of the guys who got this 790 in math and 310 in verbal. I think you got 300 points just for signing your name. But it was just terrible. I think I took the thing 10 times. It was just god awful.
Yeah, I took the SAT a couple of times as well. But anyways, so let's continue.
What's the most important thing in your life today?
Most important thing in my life today?
Yeah.
Probably my family. My relationship with my wife and my daughter, extremely important to me.
And tell us a little bit about your background. How did you end up in the village?
So my brother was living in Miami and going to UM, and my father suggested that my brother buy a house. So I ended up becoming my brother's bank. So he borrowed the down payment. We bought a house on the corner of Heather and Hampton, I think almost 40 years ago. And I met Christina actually in that house. So I came back here on vacation from Malaysia, I think, or somewhere in China, back from the oil field, and I had never been in Florida before. So I came to Key Biscayne, and I walk in the house, and there's this very attractive blonde woman. We went out that night, and 3 weeks later, we got engaged.
Wow, nice.
So, yeah. So, and then we moved. Then she moved from here. We bought another house, the house we currently live in. It sounds like I'm some kind of like rock and roll rich guy, but that wasn't the situation at all. I borrowed a lot of money to buy the houses. But so we moved. We met. She moved with me to a place called Medan, Indonesia, which is in central Sumatra, which is a fairly large town in central Sumatra where I was working. And then we slowly worked our way from Thailand back to Indonesia. And then our daughter was born, and then we moved to Bombay, and we lived in Bombay for 3 years. And then I moved back to the United States and started working in the company that I currently am the president and part owner of, which is called Wilkinson High-Rise, which is a trash chute company, which has no relationship whatsoever to the oil field, other than the fact it's a construction-oriented company. So I've been working all over the world now for the last 30 years, putting and installing in garbage chute systems in projects like the Dubai Airport or the Burj Khalifa project in Dubai, which is the tallest building in the world. We work in Tel Aviv, we work in Abu Dhabi. So we did the waste equipment for the big F1 facility, Formula One facility. Done work in, lots of work in Cairo. So, and then Panama, and then of course the United States. I mean, Miami's kind of our, for lack of a better term, our hood. We basically, it sounds like we control the market, but we have a very substantial presence. Pretty much every high-rise apartment building or 3-story days in, we've been involved with. Yeah, so it's been a very successful business.
So just to understand, so you had your house here in the Key first, and then you went overseas. You did all that awesome
oil field
work,
stuff, yeah,
and then you came back.
Yeah, then we came back and we moved in the house that we owned, and we sort of started over for all intents and purposes. We found new jobs. My wife found a new job. I found a new job, and we basically rethemed our lives in Key Biscayne. And we've been here ever since then. So 30 years. In fact, I remember meeting Alan Fine and Susie Westfald on the beach at the beach club when my daughter stole their son Jake's shovel, and I think they were both I think Jake was maybe 3, and Sophie was 4, and they were playing on the beach, and we've been friends with the Fines ever since that day. So Alan and Susie are very close friends of ours, and I think they're the first people we met on Key Biscayne at the beach club.
Awesome.
Yeah,
so it's a good thing about the Key. It's small. You get to small and and big enough that you could do your own thing, but then you always find people everywhere.
What inspired you to run for office?
I'm extremely concerned that the infrastructure projects are going to get paused. Okay. I was on the undergrounding committee for several years with Brett Moss. I was highly encouraged by several people in the community to get involved because of my construction background, and they think, and I have a lot of professional construction experience from project management to negotiating contracts with large corporations, big billion-dollar projects. So I'm not threatened by the numbers, and I was just extremely concerned that the infrastructure project was going to get paused. So I'm a major proponent of the undergrounding. In fact, I actually think the electrical undergrounding is more significant than the flooding. I think the flooding is basically a serious nuisance, but it's not something that is life-threatening. If we're one Cat 4 storm away from getting wiped out with our electric system here. I mean, we have surface power poles. If you've ever seen what happens to surface power poles after a major hurricane, they literally get ripped out of the ground. So I want to be in this position where we can control our own destiny, and get the wires underground. And it's my paramount issue. I mean, I'm really focused on infrastructure.
So the next question, it's about the issues that the village is facing, which you kind of tackled already with your inspiration to run. But if there were three things or that you would focus on in your term, what would that be?
Infrastructure.
Perfect.
Okay. I mean, I think it's just the paramount issue. The insurability of the village is being eroded. Okay. The capital value of our assets are being eroded. Any business person that walks here and is looking to buy a house, okay, they're going to do comparables. Okay. They're going to go to Palm Beach Island. They're going to go to other areas. They're going to go to Malaupan, for example. They're going to look in Fort Lauderdale, and they're going to go into markets and say, okay, walk around the neighborhood, look at the area, and they're going to say, wow, this place has underground wiring. This place has pump systems. Why would I come out and invest in a $5 million apartment on Key Biscayne when I may or may not be able to get power to the Winn-Dixie to buy groceries because the storm wiped out all the power, or I can't get my kids to school because the road's flooded? I mean, the beauty of living here is to be able to ride around in your golf cart, okay? And if you can't drive your kids to school in the golf cart in the morning because the road's flooded, or you lose power and your whole entire life goes to I was going to use a bad word. Your whole life just basically shuts down. I mean, and there's a whole lot of safety issues with the lack of power. I mean, let's just assume that somebody that's a little elderly gets stuck in one of these older buildings on Sunrise, and the elevator, they don't have generators on most of those buildings. So when the power goes out, they got to walk down the stairs, okay? And that's just not okay from a safety standpoint. And there's just all kinds of things that start to break down when the power goes out. I don't know if you were here when we lost power for about 2 weeks after a major storm. People started getting panicky. Okay, you went to the gas station. You couldn't get gas because there's no pump, there's no power. You can't get any food because the Winn-Dixie's refrigerators aren't working. Everybody still gets a little panicky, and it starts getting a little unruly. And I don't remember if you were here after Andrew. I mean, if you went down to south into Homestead, people were armed because they were protecting their homes because people were looting. People get pretty crazy when systems start to break down and the rule of law gets break down. I'm not saying that we're going to get to anywhere near that level here, but this is a real issue, okay? And when you can't control your own destiny, life becomes problematic. And we have the ability to do this. We have the money to do this. It needs to get done. It's as simple as that. And that's my principal focus.
Can you share with us some things that you think the village of Key Biscayne is doing well?
Yeah, I think the fact that they're focusing on the infrastructure project is an incredibly good thing. And that's I'll keep going back to this, but I think that they've hired good people. I think the manager's doing a good job. I believe that the core group of people they assembled are very capable. My concern is that they haven't done a good job in benchmarking the cost structure. Okay, so right now, the first phase is like $75 million. Okay, so $75 million is a lot of money. Okay, but to Acon, who is the consulting engineers, this is a really small project relative to what they usually do. I mean, they do $300, $400, $500, $600 million projects on a routine basis. And the concern that I've expressed to other friends and colleagues is that when you're doing a large project like this, you have timelines, okay? You have, and I believe the village has all this information. I just don't think they've done a very good job in relaying the information, okay? Now, it's not easy to get the information either. So if I was going to do this from a marketing standpoint, which I believe this is kind of a sales pitch issue, right? You have to explain to people why they need this stuff, and you also have to explain to them this is a good number. Because when you go out to buy a car, you can go and you can get, if you're buying a Toyota Corolla, you can go on the internet, type in Toyota Corolla, put in the issues that you want in the car, whether you want leather seats or this or air conditioning or not air conditioning, whatever, and it'll pop out a number, and then it'll tell you 3 places you can buy that car for within $150 range, right? You can go to Kendall Toyota, you could go to another Toyota dealer. You can't do that. It's difficult to do that with an infrastructure project, but there are parameters, okay? You can get parameters from Palm Beach, and you can go up to Palm Beach Island, which we did when we were doing the underground projects, Brett and I did. Go up there, you talk to the municipality, you can get, okay, what did you pay per linear foot for this work? So you can build a budget very easily that you can relate to other people. So you know that when we pulled that thing together, it was a $32 million project. We knew it was $32 million plus or minus a 10% window because we had comparables. I think that the village would do themselves a significant service if they would just explain where all the numbers come from, so people get a comfort that we're spending money intelligently. And I'm hoping to help steer that question to the right answer, which is to the project.
So part of being in public service, you're going to receive all sorts of opinions and thoughts.
Absolutely.
So how do you plan to work with those that oppose your ideas?
Well, I believe that everybody has an opinion, and their opinions all have merit, and they need to be listened to. And I think that rational compromise brings things to a point of consensus. But you're never going to make everybody happy, okay? So at a certain point in time, a leader needs to lead, and that may just be a little disruptive on occasion. But you can't, by no means are you going to sit there and just say, hey, your opinion doesn't have any validity. No. We'll listen to your opinion, respect your opinion, but at a certain time, you need to get on board with the group. And if you don't want to get on board, please step away and don't be disruptive. But we need to, if we're agreeing to steer a course as a group, then we need to steer the course. And you need to be on board. It's kind of like, if you're rowing in a boat, everybody's agreed that we're rowing this to a particular direction. If you don't want to row, please step out of the boat, or at least don't be disruptive when you're in the boat. That's kind of how I deal with those situations.
If elected at the end of your term, how would you like to be remembered?
For pushing the infrastructure project forward.
Okay, I like it.
What makes you believe you stand out from other candidates?
I think I stand out primarily because I have 30 years of construction experience. And I believe the community needs to have the council composed of people that have skill sets that are aligned with the needs of the community at the time. And I'm really the only person that's running with any of those skill sets concerning how to administrate and understand construction. Now, I do not think that in fact, I imperatively do not think that a council's person's job is to be directly involved with the project. Our goal is to be there to evaluate, hold the management team accountable, and move the goals of the village forward. But it is not to be the people that are doing the work. It's to be helping to supervise the long-term strategic processes of what the village wants to get done. We're not supposed to be in there doing day-to-day work. In fact, if you do that, you're becoming disruptive. That's not the role of a person on the board. Okay, and I see the council as the board of directors of the village. Okay, I've been on the board of several companies, and when you're a board member, you actually really have to, especially if you're a can-do kind of person, you have to really step away and realize that this is not your goal. You're there to mentor, You're there to assist. You're there to provide counsel, but you're not there to do. So I think we need to be very conscious that look, I'm not going to walk in there and take over some construction project. That's not my role, not my responsibility. In fact, I would be doing the community a disservice. But I can be there looking at different information and help relay that information to the constituents who may or may not understand why this costs what this costs, and give them some relationship to why this costs this particular amount of money, and help them understand why we need that. So really be an advocate of the project.
So we like to think that the whole show is more of a light note to get to know you.
Okay.
But we have a different set of questions now to change up the beat.
So after a long, stressful day, what do you do to relax?
Ride my bike. I do. I have a couple friends. Actually, I have a very good friend, Wayne Ramoski, who I became very close through the COVID experience. We agreed that we would stay away from each other through the process, and we rode bikes pretty much Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays for the last 3 years. So we've been doing it, actually now more like 5 years. We've been doing this pretty routinely with each other, and we bounce ideas off each other. We have a good time just relaxing and riding our bikes. We ride pretty hard, so it's fun.
What is a go-to meal for a last-minute guest?
I'm a big yacht club guy, so I've been the commodore of the yacht club. I've been involved with the yacht club for a really, really long time, and it's kind of my happy place. So if I have an opportunity to take a friend or somebody from out of town there, I'll take them there, because the sunset's incredible. They got really, really good cold beer, and the food's okay. So it's just a great place to hang out with friends, and a great place to bring somebody from outside to see, because it's just a wonderful place to be.
The view is amazing from the balcony there, from anywhere, from the yacht club, but it's pretty nice.
What do you love most in the Key?
What do I love most in the Key? Actually, the people. I'm a big fan of the community. I've made a lot of good friends here. I feel extremely comfortable here. I feel very safe. And physically safe, but I feel safe because I've got a core group of people around me that if I was hurt or impacted some way, I could pick up the phone and call a friend, and they would be there in 30 seconds. And I'm not sure I've ever lived in a community that has that level of compassion towards each other. I'm going to cry. It's just, really feel strongly about this. Yeah.
The Key is a very special place when it comes to bringing people together. And I always say in the office that the village is connected in a way that not any other community is connected, I think. I think the island situation that we have helps, but also the people, like you said, the organizations, everybody helps everybody. I mean, you could see it with your wife. She leads the Bill Bags, the Cape Florida, which is an organization that supports Bill Bags and their initiatives. You have the Key Biscayne Community Foundation, and under that, there's a plethora of non-for-profits that are mainly from locals.
Yeah, her Go Vote Miami project as well.
Which I have to get you on the show for that. And lastly,
what is a perfect weekend you have in the Key?
Perfect weekend. Generally, my wife and I get up every morning. We have coffee. Thank God we both had in the financial situation where we've been able to retire fairly early. So we get up, we have coffee, we go down to the park, and we walk our dog around the park. And we do this pretty much every day. So, now kind of the weekdays kind of rolls into the weekend. So there's not really a difference between the 2 days anymore. It sounds pretty pompous, but it's not meant to be.
Enjoy it.
It's we've gotten to the position now where we can chill a little bit and not be so stressed out about getting up at 7, getting the kid in the car, get to school, drop him off, get to the office. I mean, we're not doing that anymore, thank God. And just taking the dog for a walk it's great. We do it all the time.
Hey, Michael, thank you again for jumping on the show and to tell us a little bit of your background, some of your Key Biscayne story. And I'd like to thank everybody for, again, like I mentioned at the beginning, for taking the leap run for office. I know it's going to be challenging, exciting, fun. You're going to meet a lot of people. But I know regardless, it's going to be a lot of time and work. So I just want to thank you in advance for considering and serving the village. Any last words?
Yeah. First off, guys, I appreciate the time. It's been interesting to get to know you both better. I mean, I know we've met a couple times, but primarily it's been sort of in one of these chaotic things that on our front deck where my wife has put together some function, and we really generally don't get a chance to talk to anybody. Just kind of running around to make sure that people are having a good time. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm looking for people's vote. Okay, I'm not going to go through the laundry list of why I should be elected. I think that's it's not necessary. I think we've talked about that enough. I'm looking for people's vote. I would appreciate their vote. Vote for Mike Bracken. Thank you very much, and appreciate you guys' time. Thanks.
All right. Have a great day.